Okay, so it's time for me to share with you some actual statistics. Okay, we're going to talk about the spread of products into American households more generally. This is a timeline of when products were invented and how long it took for them to be integrated into 100% of household use in the United States. So the telephone took essentially a full century from its invention until it was available in 100% of households. By 1970, it was available by about 80% of households. That was 70 years between invention and its actual acceptance by the vast majority of American households. If you look at electricity was made available at the beginning of the 20th century. It was not widely available in all American households until you got to about 1945, 1950. That's when it was available in like 80% of American households. The radio was invented in the mid-1920s, and it was available in most American households, and the vast majority anyway, by 1940. Now look at the right side of this chart, the right-hand side of this chart. Every major invention of the modern era, the line from invention to prevalence is essentially straight up. The smartphone was invented shortly after 2000. By 2010, the smartphone was available for more than 50% of the public, and by 2015, it was available to 75% of the public, a 15-year lag period between invention and acceptance by everyone. The digital camera was invented in about 1995. It was already available for pretty much everybody. Everyone had one by 10 years later. So basically, any major product that has been invented since 1970 in the United States has been available to pretty much every American household within 10 to 15 years. And we are whining about this. We are complaining about this. In 1980, I have statistics on consumption and wealth. The consumption per capita in 2015 dollars in 1980 was $19,182. By 2015, it was $38,146. We had doubled our rate of consumption. That doesn't sound like poverty to me. The share of household budget spent on food, clothing, shelter, and utilities went down from 36% in 1980 to 27% in 2015. The share spent on entertainment and recreation went from 8.9% in 1980 to 14.3% in 2015. The average size of a new home went from 1,595 square feet in 1980 to 2,700 square feet in 2015. In other words, guys, things have gotten a lot better, and you should stop your whining. That's not true for everyone. Listen, if you're an exception, if you're somebody who's really had it hard, you grew up in poverty, obviously this is not true for you, but that's been true for all time. There are people growing up in poverty. AOC is not one of them. To pretend that millennials, as a generation, have it significantly worse off than past generations is to ignore the products that we get to consume now. The people who are middle class now live better than rich people did even 30 years ago. The market capitalization of all listed U.S. firms in consistent 2015 dollars, $3.4 trillion in 1980, $25.1 trillion in 2015. Life expectancy has risen by nearly 6 years since 1980. The overall death rate has dropped from 1,007 per 100,000 people to 724 per 1,000 people. It has declined, the death rate, for heart disease, for cancer, for automobile deaths, dramatically for automobile deaths, for airline deaths. It has gone from 53.9 per 100 billion miles flown to 0.2. Working conditions. We are working fewer hours. Output per work hour has risen. It has essentially doubled in the United States. Employee benefits have increased. Mean retirement age has decreased. Work-related deaths have been sliced by a factor of 4. And we're whining about this? We are complaining about this? You've got to be kidding me. The money prices for consumer goods move steadily upwards. Americans' true cost of living is better measured in hours and minutes of work, and that has been moving downward consistently. So money prices have gone up, but that's because of inflation. But when you look at work hour prices, meaning how much work it takes to buy a particular product, that has been declining steadily since 1900 to all-time lows now. There is falling real cost of everyday products. The iPad, the iPad, when it was introduced in 2010, and now what it costs, it only costs 85% of what it used to. A movie costs 74.6% of what it used to. A pizza costs 59% of what it used to. Cheaper products, better products, and we are complaining about this? This is what is causing socialism? So the answer is it's ingratitude that's causing socialism. It's not real conditions. It's a lot of people like AOC whining about their wonderful upbringing in a fantastic country. Show a little gratitude, and maybe you'll stop whining about the system and start focusing on maybe the fact that if you are not succeeding the way you want to, you need to change the decisions that you are making. You are in control of your own life, not some impersonal, chaotic forces beyond your control. What we are watching right now is a return to a misunderstanding of civilization. That's what we are watching right now. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So what we are watching, in essence, in the United States, is a misunderstanding of the system under which we live. We live in a free system. You get to make decisions. That doesn't mean we all start off in the same place. It doesn't mean we all face the same obstacles. We obviously do not. We all grow up with certain advantages and certain disadvantages. Some of those are much greater than others. Some of us grew up incredibly wealthy. Some of us grew up smarter. Some of us have more athletic ability. We all have different capacities, and we are all born into different situations. The question is, do we live in a country that is free for you to make decisions and reap the consequences of those decisions? Or is the system, quote unquote, rigged against you? And if it is, quote unquote, rigged against you, is that because reality is just reality? Or is it because there's somebody who's actively standing in your way? What I mean by that is that there are certain people who are just going to do better than others in American society, people who are more likely to make good decisions, people who may be smarter or faster or bigger or taller or more beautiful. That's been true for all of human history, and government is not in a position to rectify these cosmic inequities. The question is government actively impeding you from feeling the effect of your own choices? And if it is not, then maybe we ought to examine the choices and discuss how we can make better choices so that we succeed in American society. This is why I dislike populism of both right and left. Populism basically says to people, we'll give you what you want in excuse. Populism of the right says, well, there are all these factory towns where the jobs have gone away, and we lie and we say it's because of China and Mexico, not because of technological development. And then we say, well, we want to make sure that the system isn't, quote unquote, rigged against you. And we're going to have to show me which part of the system was rigged and why we wouldn't be better off just saying to folks, listen, let's help you make decisions. If we're going to help you, let's find private charitable ways to help you make decisions that better your life. Here's the truth. In a free country, the decision to better your life is up to you. And that's the country we live in, because that is the civilization that we founded. The civilization we founded was based on certain fundamental principles. You are not at the mercy of forces around you. You're a free, rational actor made in the image of God. So are all the people around you. You get to make those decisions, and you have a responsibility to make good and moral decisions, to make virtuous decisions, decisions that make your life better and build the social fabric. If we reject those fundamental assumptions and we assume that we are in fact just corks bobbing about on the eddies of civilization, and that if we just radically reshifted civilization, then suddenly it would be better for everyone, any attempt to radically reshift human nature away from freedom and toward oppressiveness from the top down in the name of kind-hearted, smiley-faced, redistributive justice and social justice, all that's going to do is create more misery, which is typically what these systems do.